Bitcoin is going to unravel fiat and become the foundation of the fifth age and its global reserve currency. DAO, the blockchain, is going to unravel Wall Street and its corporation and be replaced by DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and decentralized autonomous non-profit organizations. Do, a distributive unconsciousness, a kind of AI, is going to manage and disrupt everything. The foundation, DAO, the blockchain, Do, AI. I'm UnDaoDu. I'm a storyteller, and I'm here to share with you what is coming, and more importantly, the why of the blockchain. Why am I sharing this story? Because I want your involvement. I want your help. I'm sharing everything that needs to be done and coded to make this story happen. And as a result of the story, capitalism ends, fiat ends, and it gets transformed into something beautiful. Into a society that benefits each other, that cares about each other, in a society that doesn't have to worry about global change and climate change and deforestation, all these things. All these things will change, and we have it within our grasp. So, if you want to get involved, join Foundups.org. That's my Discord. Reach out to UnDaoDu. I sit in Dog's office. I meant to write God's office, but, I'm dyslexic. What can I say? So, what is the Open Tokenization Framework? It is a way to launch any token, anyone, any place, and it unites and brings together both Cardano and Bitcoin. And I've been playing with this idea. If there's Dogecoin, right, if it has value, then any type of Bitcoin can have value. That is the proof. Just look at Dogecoin. Bitcoin is at $50,000 each. Dogecoin is at 5 cents each. And when Bitcoin is at probably 100,000 or a million, Dogecoin is in many respects, the idea of Dogecoin is the next Bitcoin, and the rich people are trying to push you to Dogecoin. Doesn't matter. Dogecoin, it's great. Buy some Dogecoin. It probably is going to go up to $10, maybe even $100 in the next 10 years. Who knows? But let's talk about the framework and what does it mean, and more importantly, how does it work? Well, imagine if you could very simply, within a few minutes, create a token. Don't need a code or anything else. Just create a token, and you can tokenize yourself, your YouTube channel, your produce at your farm, your business idea, your artwork. It doesn't matter. Anything. Tokenize it. And these tokens have specific characteristics, and these specific characteristics say they last 10 years because nothing is eternal. The idea of you create a token, it's always there, it's kind of silly. They last 10 years, and they evolve into what's known as a DAO, which is the open public offering, or they just stay what they are. There's no more. There's no reason to be issuing more tokens. They're finite. And the other reason is we have 10 years worth of Bitcoin data, and the hash graph and what Bitcoin has done over 10 years and what other tokens have done 10 years, we can roll that data into the algorithm, the Noodle, that's going to use that data to create the valuation of each and every coin that is created. No one owns them. They mimic Bitcoin. They act like Bitcoin, which I'll get into, right? And no one owns them like Ethereum, the Ethereum Foundation, or the Cardano organization, or all these different, supposedly decentralized entities actually own them. In this case, no one owns these tokens. Even though we're creating it on Cardano, which is owned by a lot of different groups, these are completely independent in the sense that no one is holding them. The algorithm is actually the thing that is holding. It's kind of like creating a DAO within Cardano, creating a DAO within Ethereum. Each token, in a way, is a potential DAO. And the distribution is via the golden rule. And where 80% goes to the consumer, the collaborators, and the creator, and the other one goes to the network and fund. So let's look at this golden rule and kind of explain it to you more succinctly, right? So you have a token bank. That's the 21 million tokens of Bitcoin. That's the token bank. The 45 billion of card. That's the token bank. Who owns the bank? No one has access to that bank. When it's created, it's either created in immediately, or it could be created over time. So, and I'll talk about that. But basically, the drip. What happens with the drip of the token? The drip in Bitcoin was 50 tokens every 10 minutes, right? You set the drip. The user sets the drip. It creates the token pool. That's what's in the pool. And then whatever the time frame is set, and again, that's customizable by the user, it releases them. And it releases them to the consumer, the collaborator, and the creators, who share in 80%, and the network that shares in 20%. Of the 80%, 80% is shared with the consumer, 20% is shared with the collaborator and creator, and of that 20%, 80% goes to the collaborator, and 20% goes to the creator. And you may say, well, that seems unfair to the creator. No, it isn't, because the guy who sold the pizza, in my system, he is the creator. He created the pizza token, right? In this case, it was called Bitcoin. And he went and says, hey, you want to buy my pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin? Do you think that creator is laughing? Because he knows the value of that Bitcoin. He sold it for that 10,000 pizza coin, and now 10 years later, he's sitting there at $50 million, right, for a pizza. So that's so the creator is going to be active, promoting, creating. The collaborators are important, because without that you can't. So people who are helping with your YouTube channel, whatever, and you're sharing it matters. And then the network is like an airdrop, goes to everyone. And again, the Noodle manages and determines all of that. I don't know why I have a list of stuff here that didn't show up. There it goes. All right, the Noodle, right? It's an open algorithm, meaning there's no black box. Everything in the Noodle is transparent, right? There's open AI. All this stuff is being developed. So we'll be building on open AI. It values participation. That's the mining. How you are participating determines what share of this 80%, 20% you are getting in each of these pools that are generated. It determines proof of benefit. And that's, again, it's measuring intangibles. And AI can now measure intangibles. We've been measuring intangibles since 2012, since, there's a lot of people who've been measuring intangibles. A lot of corporations now basically have this intangible measurement to say, hey, I'm actually good even though I'm bad, type deal, right? It determines token value. All these tokens, you have to understand, there's going to be tens of millions of tokens, and how do you determine token value? Well, they won't necessarily have a value. They'll swap, and you'll be able to get stuff, and you'll just take the value. It may arbitrarily apply a value, but something, you need an AI, an algorithm, to basically be managing that that data, right? Because it's calculating the network, it's calculating the activities, it's anticipating the growth. There's a lot of things in there. This is for someone way above my ability to kind of work on this, right? This is like a mathematician genius. It does the swaps. So, you can, with this system here, if you have two tokens, they interact, and I want to get something, it doesn't say which token you want to spend. It just does it, right? You may be able to highlight which tokens you want to swap from. Okay, maybe you want to keep some specific tokens, but ultimately it doesn't matter. And the other thing that the Noodle does is holds auctions. Remember, there's this fund, so periodically it says, hey, who wants to buy this token? Right? Let's auction them off. I've got 1 million tokens, 10 million tokens, or whatever. I've got 5,000 tokens. Who wants to buy them? And it holds this auction. And what does it do then? Is it takes that auction, and this is where. Remember I said, how do I move Bitcoin from the foundation to the top? And then it basically says, hey, and it takes that and it converts it into Satoshi, and it stores the Satoshi. In the hard code, there's soft code and hard code in here. And the hard code, it has a line of hook code. Satoshi never ends. It puts it into an ever-changing wallet, right? It's constantly randomizing the wallet. And I don't know, some photographer, somewhere there, this will be done, right? So it's basically storing and holding Bitcoin that will, once enters, doesn't leave. And the reason for this is going to launch the UPS coin in the future based on the the amount of Bitcoin it has. So the number of UPS is specifically tied to the number of Bitcoin, and that's coming. That's like, think of that as second gen, and how and the name of it is Foundups, right? So you're cleaning a beach, you're doing something, and all of a sudden you hear this cha-ching out of your wallet, and you just found ups. And Foundups is kind of a really cool. I'm not going to talk about Foundups now, but the token is super cool. It evaporates. I mean, it loses value. You got to spend it. You have to use it. You can't hoard it. It goes back into the system. It's really, really a cool component of it. So go the proof of concept. We're gonna come out and just let's build a DApp. No, because a lot of DApps aren't DApps. They call themselves a DApp, but there's centralized servers, everything else. It's all a bunch of kind of bullshit. We want to have people testing and basically leveling up. When you take a token, think of this as kind of like your playground. When you take a token, it levels up to a certain level, then you go to the DApp. So this is our, so this stops. We don't want to launch a DApp that everyone basically starts just cluttering, right? We want people who have gone through the process, have educate themselves through the web app, and the web app then leaves to the DApp. Right, you can actually launch. You qualify to launch. So some of the cool things is by being on the web app, you secure a name that's for it. Right, you got to do something. It runs out. If you don't do anything, it may become available, right, to someone, or maybe someone who has made it can actually come to you and say, hey, I like your web app concept. So you'll have people going back to the web app and say, listen, I want to be a co-creator of your thing. I want to bring you on, and all of a sudden you've got a mentor. Have people make and test. Keep it simple, stupid. Here is the development design doc. You can click on this right here. I have it linked below, and you can read the. Now I'm not a coder, but I broke down all the different elements that need to be built into it. And then you need you create a token, swap a token, share a token. That's all it's going to do in the proof of concept, right? We'll be adding kind of video logs and other stuff. I want to show this. I want to zoom in on this right here. Okay, this here is what it is. This is it. This is the web app. It's so fucking complicated. All right, you create a token decal. What's the pain solution outcome? That's optional because most things aren't going to be a startup. And you can design. Am I a product? Am I an idea? Right? Am I a meme? Right? So you'll have three different things you can select. What kind of token are you? And then you will set your drip. If you want to have 1 million tokens dropping every 10 minutes, you can. The default would be Bitcoin. So a model just have Bitcoin. But obviously, by messing with the drip, the cost of launching the token is going to cost more. So what we're going to do is basically run it like on the Cardano thing that tells you the cost of anticipation, and we're going to say this is what it would cost you. And now, do you want to pay for this right up front now, or do you want to pay for it over time? Now, this is what funds our development. And as people go through this gas is what funds the development project, which means I don't need any VCs. I don't need any money, right? The app will fund itself. And the way we're going to deal with developers, we're going to have someone write some talented thing, write some code. So everything will be on GitHub. This little AI, the Noodle, you're going to write code on your GitHub, right? And you're then going to submit that code to the project. When you submit the code, it's either gets implemented or it doesn't. The Noodle then looks and says it's got implemented. Oh, you used the code, and based on the amount of code that's been implemented, added to it, a fee out of this fund will be delivered to the coder. Right? It's clean. How do you, So even if even if code is, let's say you grab code from some other. Let's say you're a lazy coder, and you go off and you basically find someone else's code from other blockchain project. You say, it'd be cool to use this code. Guess what? The Noodle will send a message to that coder saying, you qualify for this fee. So think of all this code out there, all this open source code out there. All of a sudden gets being used by the Noodle, and these people get a notification saying, here is your, validate your private key by sending an email from your GitHub, or sending your code through your BitHub to us to validate who you are. So all of a sudden GitHub becomes a way, and all this code that's out there, the Noodle's constantly scouring and tracking this code being used, and maybe the person finding the code, implementing the code, also would get something. But this is it. Why do we need money? We don't need any funding, right? So the users who want to launch their tokens end up funding the development. The developers who end up writing and doing the code end up getting rewarded. And it's a simple, there's already this software that analyzes code. It's already been built. We just need to tweak it a little bit. It's probably on GitHub already. So this is what we're building. The simplest fucking thing you can imagine, right? So we are, I call it proof of concept dApp to app, right? So we're going to build this in JavaScript. So if you're a Java, you don't need to know anything about the fucking blockchain to code this. If you're a JavaScript, if you know some kid in college or someone else that ultimately is just itching to get on to a startup, wants to be able to say, I'm the coder that helped bring down Fiat. I'm the coder that ended Wall Street. I'm the coder that basically ended this whole fucking bullshit society created on this wealth and power cycle of launching ideas that grow up into billion-dollar companies that hijack our fucking politics, that then enslave us in debt and bullshit. I was one of the fucking coders that brought that down, thanks to UnDaoDu, who basically read a 5,250-year-old Rosetta Stone and provided him the insight to do it, okay? So maybe you're one of them. Maybe you know someone. So JavaScript, it's awesome, right? So as a user, you'll be able to make 1 to 5 tokens, initially 1 token, potentially 5. This is going to be invite only. So the only way you're going to be able to get in this app is basically with an invite. That's the way we're going to grow it virally. Look at Pi. I've been saying this for 10 years. This is exactly how I'm going to build this app. Pi has 10 million fucking downloads, and they're not even a blockchain. All right, so if you don't know what Pi Network is, look it up. It's the closest thing to what I want to do, proven that it works. So it's like, if you need a proof of concept, look at Pi Network. Right, what they're doing is kind of really dumb, but it proves what I want to do, because what I want to do is based on their stuff, except what I'm doing is cool. All right, gas creation pays for development. It's going to cost 10 cents to $10 for you to launch a coin. That's our crowdfunding. So not only are we developing this very simple app, when you click gas, create your token that reserves your name for the future thing, right? And then like, hey, when we get to 10 million tokens, think of it, do the math. 10 million times $10 or 10, we're looking at a 2.5 to $10 million raise right there. Right there. No investment from any fuckers needed, right? I don't want any money, right? So, but I do need is your talent, because I'm just a storyteller, right? So we're going to have challenges, don't get me wrong, right? The DAO is a smart DAO. The DAO comes from my work as from open corporations. It was always, I envisioned these corporations managed by AI, where the AI does the accounting, does all the bullshit, does the filing, does everything, right? AI is strongly involved. And, and Vitalik comes out and says, oh, a smart contract is autonomous. No, it's not, right? So I've come up with a new term called a smart DAO, because they fucked up the word DAO, right? They didn't really define it right. So a smart DAO is AI managed blockchain, AI managed algorithms, right? So it's self-managing. It handles the token allocation. It holds the token. It's distributive AI. It's just that's a new thing right now, distributed AI. So distributed AI basically is using the deep learning, machine learning capabilities of your smartphone. It's allocating, so you will be able to allocate when you download. Now this is going to happen in the proof of, this is the dApp, right? This is like 5 years from now, right? So when you download the wallet, you'll be able to say, hey, how much allocation, you can use it when I'm sleeping, blah, blah, blah. Now understand, all the data that is collected by this open AI is stored, managed by you. It does not send this shit out to anyone. It is yours. The DAO, the AI, the Noodle, treats you as the fucking dog, man. You are the dog, right? And it wants to protect your data. It wants to look out for you. It's constantly looking at things. That's the future now. I'm talking about how I envision it. And you'll probably end up buying a little bit of hardware called OIF. We'll have a little hardware, a little box, a little shiny box will be OIF, and it's going to talk to you and say, fuck off, Siri. Fuck off, Alexa, right? And it's going to manage everything you have and protect your identity, protect your data, and you'll own it. And you'll be able to go in there and see all the data. It's going to know when you poop, when you pick your nose, everything, right? And if some researcher wants to know how many people pick their nose, and if there's money out there for that, and it's like, hey, we want to know your personal data, right? You're complete, and you could go into your personal data. It says, well, how personal do you want? How often do you have sex? How often do you masturbate? How you're gonna have to pay? I don't give a fuck. You can have all my data, right? Oh, I don't give a fuck. Just give me some ups, and ups will. This is where you get your ups coin, right? Your ups will be paid out for that, and that will be leveraged out, and obviously that will be aggregated. No one will know who you are. Don't know who it's coming from, unlike now. So on that, but the token allocation holds the tokens. It's very important. When the tokens are created, or they created over time, you're not holding the tokens as a token creator. You're just creating the idea of this token, just like Satoshi created the idea of Bitcoin. Or the guy who created the Dogecoin created the idea of that, and it's the network, it's the participation that built the value of that thing. And more importantly, it determines the value and the ranking. The cool thing about OTF tokens is that there's no pump and dump, because the AI is setting the value for them. We'll have our own exchanges, and you will, someone asked me, well, would I be able to put my tokens on it? Sure. I'm sure someone will, right? And if someone, wants to pay for those tokens, great, right? Fine, so what? So yeah, you'll be able to put your tokens on exchange. Someone's going to do that. But think of us as, I am a swordsmith, right? My sword has a specific duty. It's to slay CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. It's to slay ROI. It is to slay that built capitalism. It's to bring down Wall Street. It's to bring down the whole Fiat house of cards. That is the sword we're building here. Understand, that's the sword. And ultimately, it can't be stopped. It's unstoppable. As I have on the back of Foundups t-shirts, unstoppable. So the DApp, right, requirements, I'm looking at probably 2025 as, it uses no centralized resources. It's a true fucking DApp. These DApps out there aren't DApps. They're servers, they're centralized, everything else. So we want a true DApp. We want everything that is running this to be running on your smartphone, right? There is no centralized servers with any of the data that's on there. There are these hubs, these OIF hubs, that people will be able to have, which will create that distributive AI network, and will also hold and distribute, and will create up the speed by having. And this is not a new idea. You can buy these little, think of it as a little box, little 3x3, little shiny lights, and it'll talk to you, right? It has to utilize the machine learning capabilities of your device, right, for the Noodle, and you'll allocate that. It's decentralized like Bitcoin. And also, more importantly, it's modular, which means we're not going to try to build this. It's kind of like how Cardano, how Charles talks about Cardano. It's modular, and it's you'll add different parts. So the Noodle was built very modular. So the first modular part, as I went back, is managing. The DAO isn't going to do all. It's going to manage token allocation. It's going to basically distribution. It's going to do the ranking. So it's going to do a few things. Eventually, it's going to interact with you completely. And the other challenge here is the network. Allocation of tokens, circulation, real-time pools, which means basically there's a lot of bandwidth issues, KYC, and other things like that. So there are challenges that we're going to face. Smarter people than me are going to come up with it. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this talk. It's kind of long, it's in depth. If you have any questions, again, go to foundups.org. And will you be the next Bitcoin?